Imagine this. Your headliner is about to go on, the crowd is buzzing, and then total chaos. A fence has collapsed, and the entry points are jammed, and no one knows where security is. Sounds scary, right? But here's the thing. It's totally avoidable. Hi, it's Mark from OnePlan, and in this video, I'm going to help you think about how to plan for safety before things go wrong at your event. If you're organising an outdoor event or festival, this might be the most important video you watch this week. So, this all starts with risk, not the layout of your event. And what I mean is, most planners start with the site layout, but safety planning begins with a thorough risk assessment. So before you go placing a single stage or food truck, you need to assess the key risks unique to your festival. Crowd behaviour, terrain, weather, and site access all influence how you plan for safety. First of all, you need to take some time to understand who your event audience is. Think about creating a profile with all the information you have about their likely behaviour at your event. This should be the starting point for everything you do, understanding what the likely hazards are that you need to consider for your event. For your audience, you want to consider who they are, when will they arrive, when will they leave, and how are they going to behave. Everything you do from this point should be in the context of this audience profile that you create. So, for example, compare the audience of a heavy metal rock concert and then a kids concert. You're clearly going to consider different risks and hazard for each, right? Take the time to write down a comprehensive audience profile, and remember, there might be more than one, and that's okay. The next step is to list out all the hazards and risks. Now, hazards and risks are not the same thing. Let's start with some definitions. A hazard is something with the potential to cause harm, and the risk is how likely that hazard would cause harm and the consequence of that harm. The key here is to start documenting this process early in your planning cycle. Here's a great tip for you. Use OnePlan to highlight or overlay weather or terrain risks, steep gradients, flood zones, exposed areas, and flag them early in your site plan. An important thing to remember, don't rely on last year's plan. Each event has unique risks. Always start fresh with a brand new risk register, and always try to assess your plan with fresh eyes. You want to design safe crowd movement paths. Most safety issues come from poor crowd flow, bottlenecks, crossflows, and poorly marked exits. And sadly, there have been too many incidents where this type of poor crowd flow planning has not been sufficiently assessed. Plan for how people move through your site, in, out, and between the key areas such as main stages and secondary stages. You need to think like an attendee and a safety officer. Consider how and where your queuing systems will be. Do they have redundancy for delays with opening your event, for example? Another great way that OnePlan can help is using the area tool. This can measure the space that you have available. You can see where bottlenecks might form well before they happen. It's like building a motorway. You need clear lanes, roundabouts, not dead ends, and emergency exits that everyone can see. One thing to try and avoid is only planning ingress. Egress, especially during peak times or emergencies, is where many plans fall apart. So take time to consider this. Next, let's talk about emergency access. Are emergency teams actually able to reach all parts of your site quickly? Your site plan should include emergency vehicle routes that are clear of normal traffic. Do your medical tents have direct access on and off site for vehicles? Do you have staffing positioned for a fast response, such as security or medical staff? And do you have clearly marked exits and assembly zones for people after an evacuation? Again, use OnePlan to place medics, emergency routes, and signage. Everything is to scale, so you'll know if a fire truck can make that turn. Colour code your areas, for example, green for public, red for emergency use only, and blue for staff. OnePlan makes this easy with its area tools. Don't make the mistake of forgetting to test your plan with stakeholders. Bring in medics, security, and stewards during the planning stage using activities like a tabletop exercise. Don't forget external risks, things that you have less control over, things like the weather, crime, or power cuts. And you should have contingency plans for these. So think about what you would do with severe weather, If there was localized crime or perhaps a protest, what would you do with a power failure if you are relying on a grid power supply? And what would you do with medical emergencies beyond your capacity? It's not possible to anticipate every possible issue, but you must have robust plans in place that covers how to move people to safety and then recover the event. So a real-world tip for you, think about where you're going to put your crowd in an emergency. You need to model those what-if scenarios early on in your planning. Again, think about testing these with something like a tabletop exercise. So, as an example, how long would it take your medics to reach the back of the crowd if someone collapsed? If you don't know, you've got a problem, but it's fixable through solid safety planning. And finally, make safety planning collaborative. Event safety isn't just your job, it's everyone's. But if the plan only lives in your head or a PDF that no one reads, it's already broken. Use collaborative tools so teams, security, volunteers, vendors, emergency services all work on the same live safety plan. With OnePlan, you can invite stakeholders to the live plan with a link. Or, using our Teams plan, your security can place barriers, medics can flag concerns, and your local council can approve emergency access, all without sending a single email. So the big takeaway here is if your festival isn't safe, it doesn't matter how good your lineup is. Safety planning is not about ticking boxes, it's about preventing real harm. If you found this useful and want to see how this works in real life, check out my video, How to Build Your First Festival Site Plan in OnePlan. Leave a comment below. What's your biggest safety challenge you've faced when planning an event? Don't forget, if you want to try OnePlan for free, head to oneplan.io for a free trial now.